It's an ongoing coup. And the reason it's ongoing is because it can never end. Because people it's trying to crush and the ideas that it's trying to crush are based in, I don't know, good, in human goods. To not want to see people crushed underfoot by a fascist type of, uh, the boot. Isn't that just a basic human good? Especially when you look at these people. I mean, you can kind of think of it in terms of the beginning of Fahrenheit 9/11, where they were talking about I don't know, the FBI or whoever they were going in and just crushing these people, and they were like mothers who brought cookies to the meeting and stuff like that. I mean, of course, this well, it's not one movement, but movement after movement and multiple movements are going to rise up in opposition to that. So, when I was a kid, uh, it was just flat out, you know, better dead than red and all that kind of crap. And oh my God, if you stood up and even criticized the establishment, saying that it wasn't really serious or anything, if you criticized it because there was a homeless person down the street, living in the ball pen of the local high school foot or baseball field, which is something that was really happening in Ironton, Ohio, which is just across the border from Kentucky, where I was set up office and was working back about 5 years ago. Yeah, I kept hearing about this family living in the bullpen. Whole family, kids, mother, father. Just so I mean, even if you were to say, well, you know, that's the fault of my community. You were red baited. You were attacked. Uh, and if you kept it up, yeah, you were actually called a communist and told, well, if you don't like America, go back to Cuba. Go back. No, I mean, go to Cuba. If you don't like this country, like I'm supposed to go to a country where I don't know anybody, where my parents aren't there, and my family and my friends, and I don't know the language. I mean, I would be the first person to pick up and go to England if it was communist. If they would actually take communism, or California, you know, anywhere where, well, not at this point, but when I was that age, I wouldn't hesitate, not even a little bit. Matter of fact, I'm very likely going to move uh, to California when my mother dies, because she's old and she'll probably. Uh, so anyway, at that point I'll be free to, because I feel obligated to be here to help her until she dies. So those are the kind of things that keep us from going to Cuba. I mean, if everybody spoke English in Cuba and it was like I could go back and forth and stuff and everything was cool, of course I'd go to Cuba. I wouldn't mind being a fisherman in Cuba or whatever they want me. Garbage man, I don't care. Except for that I'm old enough, I've got to retire. So that's an issue too. So the when he says that there's a coup going on. Well, it's just an ongoing thing. I mean, and again, it's ongoing because there's just going to always be more people. I mean, it's kind of like they talk about ISIS. Every time we bomb them, 10 more of them pop back up. Well, yeah, because They don't appreciate us dropping bombs on their houses. So, why is the color so? If I press a couple of buttons. See if that helps. So, yeah, it's not going to stop anytime soon. I mean, it's going to get worse until this country starts fixing some of its, and boy, are they are hard-headed when it comes to poverty, aren't they? I mean, out of all the things that people say they don't cover, like they didn't cover Bernie when he was running, and they don't cover uh, Russiagate or whatever they were talking about in some of these things they don't cover. There's always a bunch of things that they don't cover. One thing they don't cover is poverty. If they do it from a point of view that really doesn't hurt them at all or even helps them. Especially they cover the propaganda machine is just non-stop about people helping poor people. But do they ever point out the fact that they've been running those same kind of propaganda for 50, 100 years? So if people helping people, if people working in a soup kitchen at Christmas or whatever, if charities really, okay, they help people, sure, some people, but they don't solve the problem. I mean, if they've had these, propaganda pieces for so long, then all that time there's been poverty and despair, and nothing that they've done has helped it. And in fact, if you look at the statistics, you'll find out that it's just gotten worse. While they've promoted poverty and nothing else, or I'm sorry, charity and nothing else. Let's just have charity, and let's ignore the fact that uh, your friend is living in a van eating government cheese down by the river, to quote a great comic in his SNL skit. So, yeah, I mean, that's all I really have to say about that is, uh, it's an ongoing coup because they have to keep on coming back and fighting. It's not really a coup, you know. It's not like they're going to win anytime soon. It's not like this attempt, and we are tolerating Trump because we want to get rid of Hillary. So uh, they think that it's some kind of opportunity for them to finally win. That's hilarious because in 3 years or 2 years coming up here before too long, they're going to be long gone because we're not just going to crush them. We're going to crush the establishment Democrats. I mean, we're already crushing establishment Democrats, and the Democratic Party, you know, they cheat like crazy, but they only have the same amount of time as Trump, because then we're going to go to state conventions all across this country and kick their asses out. They're not going to be making any decisions after that. And in the meantime, we're going to do a lot to make sure we win a lot of stuff too. But yeah, we have a lot of work to do. And I was getting into that into the last episode of Democratic Party headquarters news. And we're going to get into that more and more because we have to win elections just to win these state committees. See, the state committees pick who the Democrat is who gets to win the election, and the people who win the elections pick who gets to be on the committees. It's a circle jerk, and we're going to have to break that. And if we have to, you know, raid conventions and raid committees and raid headquarters and take them over, well, we may have a little revolution in our in our country, but a few little small-minded Democrats, establishment Democrats, are not going to hold on to the Democratic Party while the masses, the millions of Democrats don't want them. I mean, yeah, they fooled a lot of people, with the Clintons. That was a coup. And they took over the party. And they've set it up so that we can't take it back. Well, we're not going to let that happen. We are the millions and millions. They are a minority. And their followers just keep on coming over to us. They just don't want to come to us because we don't have a party. See, they feel comfortable because they're in a party. But it's a Republican Party. It's not the party that they want. So by one, they keep coming over, and when it comes time to vote in these uh, Democratic primaries, and when for now, yeah, they can gather their 500 people and go to a gymnasium and pick the Democratic nominee. And we don't get any say in that because we're not committee members. They don't allow us onto the committees because the committees are picked by elected officials. So, like I say, it's a big circle jerk. Now, we're going to have to break that. We're going to have to break that. I can't say that enough times. And, yeah, it's all relevant. What they're talking about, a coup. That coup that he's talking about, which isn't really a coup, but, God bless uh, Max Blumenthal because he's awesome. He's fucking awesome. And and he's talking about one end of it. I'm talking about another end of it. I'm talking about state conventions and state committees, and right down to the headquarters in these different towns and stuff. Well, we're going to figure out a way to change all that. We're definitely going to, at election time, uh, I mean, if the only thing we can do is what we did with Trump and Hillary, is make sure the Republican wins. That's not good enough, people. We're going to have to find a way. And if it takes running an independent, I mean, I guess what we could do is we could run independents, and then once they're uh, elected over the Democrat, and the Republican, we could switch his allegiance to Democrat and say he's a Democrat now, and tell Democrats who think they have a choice in the matter to fuck off, right? I don't know. I'm trying to think of ways that we could do it. I mean, it's really pathetic that they've taken the Democratic Party over like that, and they don't have the support of the people. They don't have the support of the Democrats. I mean, I would say, because you know who ex-Dem or who the real Democrats are? They're the Democrats like me who are still in the party and trying to figure out a way to get these scumbags out of our party. And then they're also everybody else, all the Greens. Where do you think they came from? They're all disaffected Democrats. All these other little parties that are popping up and that have been around, socialist this and progressive that, and they're all Democrats. They're all real Democrats. They're just pissed off about what I've just been talking about, how the Democratic Party was taken over by what are called DLC, Democratic Leadership Council, who are basically Republicans who joined the Democratic Party and said, okay, between us and you, we can start winning. And kind of, you know, I think that most Democrats just assumed that they were liberal and and not conservative, but they were wrong. They're just conservatives. So, they managed to take over the party. We need to look real hard at how they did it because we have a majority of the people, so we should be able to do it too. We should be able to take over the party the same way they did. So, I'd like all you people out there to start doing that. Start thinking about, start looking at the Democratic Legislative Council, but then try and figure out, well, how did they actually take over the party? Well, I'd say the first thing they did was they got their person in as president. So Bill Clinton was the beginning of the takeover. And then once they got in as president, he was kind of the leader of the party. So we're going to definitely have to win in 2020. I don't know that Bernie is the person to do that with. He's got way too many ties with establishment Democrats, and we're going to need basically a Bill Clinton of our own who will take over the party and take it away from the real Bill Clinton, obviously, the Clintons and the Obamas and all these people. They're going to have to become just a bad memory.